Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. I hope you are all well, folks, and that you did overindulge during Christmas and New Year. A little bit too much eating, a little bit too much drinking, having a bit of fun over that time. Overall, nice and safe. Despite that, I know I probably ate too much and drank a bit too much, and I've taken on a couple of new jobs as well. So a new job. So I might talk about that at some point during the show to let you know what's going on in New Zealand Rugby HQ. But joining me from the Deep South is Cornflake. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Not as exciting as you, clearly. You know, it's another hot day. Please don't overheat, Mr. Camera. And yeah, roll on January. That's all I can say. You know, we got a few weeks till the Six Nations starts, a few weeks to a new rugby game that won't exist, and a few weeks till Super Rugby, right? So, you know, woo! You know, get excited. Yeah. Screw all that other stuff.
Sorry, a new game that won't exist? What are you on about?
A new rugby game coming out the end of January at the start of the Six Nations, which
computer game. Right. Yeah,
yes.
Sorry. Yes.
In release, in speculation for about, it was supposed to come out at the start of the Rugby World Cup, got postponed, so it's died literally. There's no information. So how do you release a product when there's literally no information in your 3 weeks from release?
Wow.
Poor.
Yes, that's very poor. And for those of you that don't know, Steve has got his own YouTube channel where he plays computer game or rugby computer games. So go check that out if you're into rugby and computer games. That's the place to be. Me, haven't got a clue about those sort of things. So that's why when he said, "Oh, there's a new game coming up." There we go. Charlie, how are you doing in the live chat there on YouTube? So folks, we go live on a Monday, when we do go live, that is, at 8 p.m, because this is our first show since the 4th of December. Sorry, folks. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But says, hello, can't wait for rugby to start. Hurry up and start. Yes, it's 2nd of February is kind of when rugby starts from my point of view. Cornflake has been keeping a track of the URC and the Premiership and the top 14 and all of that kind of stuff. Me, I've totally switched off, had some downtime. But yes, 2nd of Feb, France versus Ireland. What a way to kick off the Six Nations. Really looking forward to that one. That could be the title decide for the first game, Steve.
I mean, what about the Crusaders in Munster? Isn't that before the end of the month? Is it, or is it in early February? That's a big one. But Six Nations. I don't know. Honestly, after the World Cup, I just don't know about Ireland anymore. France, hey, the big thing about France is who's going to be available and who's not. You know, the whole Dupont going missing. He's off to sevens now. So he's not going to be around for France for the Six Nations. And then he's going to be away for the next Six Nations as well. So, you know, it's easy to look back at the World Cup and go, this is what should be and could be and would be and should happen. But, hey, we all know about that. It's not really what's going to go down because the might of Scotland is going to power on through and the Italians are going to power on up and they're going to upset everyone. And I'm sorry, Wales, maybe next year.
And England are going to play 10-man rugby in its absolute purest form and win the tournament.
Old Farrell's gone. He's gone to Racing. No more Farrell. It's time to rejoice. Rumours are he's gone to Racing 92. So does England change the rules so they can select Farrell for the England squad?
Even before that, look, he's taking a sabbatical anyway, because let's be honest, he's probably the as far as social media goes, the most hated rugby player on the planet, and takes an awful lot of vitriol, whatever he does, in all honesty. Let's be honest, it is over the top. I'm not saying he's the cleanest player in the world, but he definitely, all he has to do is sneeze and someone goes, "Oh, shoulder tackle, he hasn't got any arms." So yes. But yes, I think
up now. He throws intercept passes now. On the weekend, he threw an absolute shocker. Oh, my boy. It was literally the guy was standing in his backline facing him like this, and he threw it straight at him. It's like, you know, those comedy reels. But yeah, hard to disagree.
As I said, 10-man rugby. He shouldn't be passing the ball. Why is he passing it?
Hey, come on. You should be the one promoting this, man. As the Englishman, you should be out here going, hey, look, there's a number of great English players in the backs, especially who are actually quality. That I can't say his name properly because I haven't seen enough, but Fabea or Wusu or something like that. incredibly fast and powerful winger. Just recently declared for England, as opposed to Wales, I think it was, or another nation anyway. And of course, the form throughout their centres have just been so good and so strong and powerful. And you look at these guys and say, so where were you in September last year? Because they weren't in white, and they've been incredible. So, I look at it and say, man, England could be so much better of a team than they were at that World Cup, which is kind of scary, I guess, because the way they played at the World Cup was quite impressive, right? And the fact there's so much of that talent. What's that?
Third best team in the tournament, and
so many players were left back, and you look at them now and you say, well, why aren't you playing for England? And in the back line, especially, Daly's playing in midfield and he's actually playing decent enough. Why are you out on the wing looking like an absolute piece of trash? So, I watch those games now and I go, man, is it just the directiveness from the top that's just wanting that style of play and just shutting out all these sort of guys who are, just not getting the chances that it could really change that team? But it's kind of scary. There's a lot of good players over there. Good for international rugby if they actually selected them. But yeah, England's coming along nicely. I think all those Northern Hemisphere teams have a lot of talented players. It's just unlocking those guys to the next level is the big challenge, especially the smaller nations.
Oh, look, let's just hope that Steve Borthwick had that style of rugby because he took over the team late, and he will grow that and will improve the style of rugby over the next 4 years. And we will see, as you say, all those players actually allowed to play rather than just told, kick it to the corners and play Tamarind. Look, it worked very well against South Africa. They very nearly got the win, which was beyond their wildest dreams going to the tournament. People were talking about England not getting out their group. So to get within a point of the world champions is remarkable. Was it done in a nice fashion? No, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So yes, there's that going. As I say, yes, the Munster versus the Crusaders, and Munster Rugby goes a world first clash of champions. Oh wow, okay, whatever. A pre-season game for the Crusaders. Up against a Munster team, which apparently, and let's suppose I'm not. I've not been keeping track of this, but apparently they've got at least 15 injured players at the moment. So they're in an absolute disastrous position from what I hear from an injury point of view, and are not doing so great because of that. Up against, let's say, the Crusaders in a pre-season game. Wow, yes, a world first clash of champions. Nah, it isn't going to be. Well, it will be a world first, but from a clash of champions point of view, sorry, nah, it's not. It's not that until we have a global season. And for all the talk of having this new wonderful tournament that's coming out, we do not have a global season. That's bullshit. Just turning your July and November windows into a tournament to try and call it a global calendar. And to have a global calendar, it isn't a Clash of Champions. It's a preseason game for the Crusaders, and it's a game in the middle of their season where the Munster don't really want because they've got other things on their mind. Lots of injuries. But hey, I'm sure they'll talk it up. And they'll talk it up, and that's it.
And whenabouts is it? What date is it?
That's the 3rd of February. So yes, it's on the same weekend, opening weekend of the Six Nations. Wow, it's going to clash with Italy versus England, or Wales versus Scotland on that same day. The
internationals won't be available either. So it kind of dilutes Munster even further, doesn't it?
Yes. So it isn't technically it's Clash of Champions. It's just an exhibition game at the end of the day. It's not a real one to me.
I find this, like, to me, I agree with what you said. To me, this is a game that I think Munster should control and dominate, because of the continuity and the fitness and the season that they've had, they should be a lot more. What's the word to describe it? They're a lot more better prepared. They've been through how many weeks now? I think they're about 11 or so weeks through their tournament or their competition now as well. They've been training for a long time. It's the same team for a long time. I mean, they've been without their internationals for half of it already. So they've come back and they're going to be here for about another few weeks and they're gone again. So it's not like they're not used to playing with those guys. Whereas the Crusaders, I mean, it's not like it's just a preseason game either. This is a Crusaders team that's undergone massive transformation. as we'll probably talk about soon. So it's not like they're coming into this.
No. Okay, we won't talk about soon because
just roll out later.
We talked about it back on the 4th of December.
So we do the Crusaders.
Yes, we did. We did the Blues, Chiefs, and Crusaders. So picking up with the Highlanders when we kick off, when we actually get on with the show. Which showing this is just the intro, folks. So yeah, as you say, but the flip side to that is at least because the All Blacks finished at the end of October rather than the end of November, the Crusaders should have access to their All Blacks for this game. Normally, they wouldn't get access to their All Blacks until the middle of Feb because they'll be on compulsory off season. So I'm assuming here that they will have had their All Blacks for at least a week of pre-season ahead of this game.
So will they use them?
I think for a game of this that's been hyped up this much, I think they have to purely for the TV people, not because it's a good thing to do, but I think purely for hey guys, this is supposed to be the for those of you listening to the podcast, that's Steve giving the money sign. A la UFC. But look, this in theory is supposed to go. Look, we can get eyeballs. We should have a World Club Championship tournament. That's the whole point of this game. The point of this game isn't actually to make money. I mean, they want to make money, a little bit of extra cash, but the whole point of this game is to try and push that agenda of having a World Club Championships, which I think is a total waste of time with the current calendar, and just doesn't fit in. Full stop. But that's what this is supposed to bring in. So the Crusaders have to play at least some of their All Blacks in this one to try and make this game look like it's semi-legitimate. Which you say it's already missing all its Irish stars. So no.
They play the Bristol Bears on the 9th of February as well. So it is actually a 2-match series, which a lot of people don't actually realise or actually know. A lot of focus on that Munster game. They're playing Bristol on the 9th, the week later. Bristol Bears, Premiership team.
So let's just delete that comment there that we had sort of about politics, folks. This is a sports show. This is not a politics show. So yes, ignore that in the live chat over there on Facebook, folks. So yes, so that's I don't know. So we'll ignore. Won't go any more into that. So yeah. So that's when the latest rugby that's coming up. We'll definitely get back into being regular with those games with those tournaments kicking off, folks. So we'll and also as Steve said, we've got some stuff to talk about. Things like DuPont going off to the Olympics. We've got Mark Reason's 6 wishes for 2024 to have a chat about what is the future of New Zealand rugby, of Super Rugby, because apparently those conversations are kicking off now for the next TV deal around that. So those kind of stuff we'll talk about from next week, and then we'll be looking forward to the Six Nations and we'll sort of ramped back up again. But as I say, I can't believe it's more than a month ago now that we did our first part of this show, talking about when we covered off on the Blues, Chiefs, Crusaders. We also looked at the Fijian Drua, Fijian Undrua, and also Moana Pacifica. So in this show, we're going to kick off looking at the Highlanders and the Hurricanes, and then also a look across the ditch at what's going on with the Australian franchises as well, from a squad point of view. Because I'm sure there's a whole bunch of money and politics points of view going on around Australian franchises, because there always is. But hey, I'll be honest, I'm not fully up to speed on that unless Steve is, about the arguing between Super Rugby franchises and Australian rugby, and whether that's and also the Sydney clubs going, no, we don't need Super Rugby. What we really need is a Shute Shield to be bigger and have more money put into it. That's what will make Australia great again. Yes, whatever. Anyway, on to let's kick off having a look at the Highlanders squad, the ins and outs. Looking at their front row, amongst the props, it's pretty much steady as she goes. Two players who were in for short-term cover or didn't play in the case of Jeff Thwaites have gone out. But Ainsley, de Groot, Inch, Johnson, Linnett Brown, and Matu are all there still. And that continuity has got to bode well from a props point of view. But to finish off the front row, which is where I think the issue is going to be, Steve, is at hooker. In the fact that we've got Lenny Apasai, Andrew Makileho, and Reece Marshall have all left. And you've got Jack Taylor with, one Super Rugby game experience. Henry Bell and Ricky Jackson with 0 Super Rugby experience. One of them has been over to the USA to play a bit of Major League Rugby. But boy, oh boy, that's a very raw or inexperienced hooking department there.
That's all right. The Jack Taylor's the future, the hero the Highlanders knew that they were needed. The man from a great region of Southland. He's going to take control. He's going to take over. He's going to dominate like he has with the under-20s and what he did with preseason last year. He's good, man. I like it because it's going to give young players opportunity to actually play and not just sit on the bench. The Highlanders, hey, look, they go into the season and they're like, the expectation probably isn't that high for them. So this is a good time to do this. I think especially Taylor and going by the comments of Bell are the future guys they need to pick up on and run with. So I don't mind it. I mean, they've shown promise, they've shown potential. So why not? I mean, why spend big money when you've got, just going to sit these talents on the bench that have played for the under-20s and come through the system? Give them a go. See how they go. I mean, if it all falls apart, well, then you got a problem. But I have faith in that. And you got experience beside them too. Like you say, those props are very, very good. You name off, 6 players here, and 5 of them you probably wouldn't raise too much of an eyebrow if they were starting. Sure, there's a better and there's the good, but still, they're all quality of Super Rugby level, apart from, I guess, Luca Inch, who I've not seen much of at all. But, slap him inside of a good, exciting little hooker. Jack Taylor is a very good around-the-park hooker. I've seen from him playing. He gets around a lot. He's, Dane Cole sort of way, if you want to compare the way he roams and breaks tackles and speed for a front rower. So, exciting and should fit in hopefully well with how this Highlanders team play as well and learn, off a similar player like Ethan de Groot that did the same path.
And look, they're both from Otago, and actually, one of the looking through where they're bringing players in from. What we've seen in previous years with the Highlanders is they've got someone from Auckland, they've got someone from Taranaki, they've got someone from, and they're all over the shop. One of the good things looking through this is that they've looked at home, they've gone right. Okay, which players can we have had as part of our academy, and can have had some experience, and can we have known and worked with prior to bringing them in, because though both those guys, both from Otago, when we get down and look at the
Southland.
Well, it says Otago. It says they played for Bell and Jackson.
No, Taylor.
Yeah. But Taylor was part of the team last year as well, even if only on a short term. Whereas they both, the other 2 players are from Otago. So what I like is how many players have come from Southland and Otago into this squad. They haven't been going out around all of New Zealand, sort of searching for players in the way they have done previously. So I like that about it. And you talk about the fact that these hookers have got experienced props. They've also got experienced jumpers in there as well. Mitchelton Shea comes down for the Crusaders with Fabio Holland, Perry Parkinson, and Will Tucker. There's guys there. Sure, they've lost Josh Dixon. Josh Beckwith has gone back to Southland, but he was a short-term replacement. I mean, he'll obviously I think he'll probably be called back up again if there's an injury. But in those 4 props, you've got experienced guys who know Super Rugby, and again, so they're throwing to experienced jumpers, and they've got experienced guys up their backside at scrum time. So they've got that. They're surrounded by experience, and that makes it much easier to bring in young hookers. So I think from that point of view, from a squad building point of view, I think they've done a good job there with their locks as well. I think Mitchelton Shea is a cracking signing. Wasn't getting enough game time at the Crusaders, and I think will strengthen that locking department.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, can't go wrong. If you're stealing anyone from the Crusaders, you're doing something right, aren't you? Especially the last few seasons they've had. And yeah, versatile sort of guy too. I guess he gives you a bit more of that power of a back rower and playing in the second row as well, kind of, doesn't he? Because he has spent a bit of time flirting with those back row positions too. So Yeah, like it. Typically, Highlanders have done this quite often with sort of fringe Crusader players, and they generally, not always, generally turn out all right. But yeah, experienced guy adds to a very experienced type 5, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Type 5. Bit more concerning, I think, is going to be the loose sleeves. So there's some when you think with Frizzell, Lenchies, and Maculati too, that could have been your starting back row, and you've been quite happy with that. Unfortunately for Lenchies, injuries have kept him out of that position, so he hasn't been there all the time. But he was captain of the Highlanders at one point. So you've three players that we missed, not just on the park but also off the park as well. With Lenchies being one of the leaders in the squad. Again, I like where they're getting their players from. Michaels from Southland and Stoddart from Otago, with the experience of Tom Sanders coming back from Tokyo. So brings back, he's played for the Crusaders, he's played for the Chiefs, brings you back some experience, and actually you've lost a lot of experience with those players going away. So joining in. So with Broughton, Haig, Billy Harmond, obviously Hicks, Michaels, Hugh Renton, Tom Sanders, Stoddart, and Withy. I think you've got you can put a back row together. Plus, there's some young, exciting guys that will see how they grow into this, because we've not seen them at this level yet. If you think that Oliver Haig was only in as a short-term pickup last year with injury cover, he's in now full time. Given that they're looking at growing this, and I like where they're getting their players from.
Yeah, and what's really sad about this is what happened to Marino Makali too, man. He was so good a couple of years ago. He was driving towards that All Black jersey. He was a standout in the back row. He was powerful. He was ticking all the boxes. He was that answer to those positions that New Zealand rugby was struggling with. And then did he get a really big injury a couple of years ago, and just something happened to him, and he just fell completely off the horse. The last time I saw him, trying to force his way back into a Super Rugby team, there you go, rib injury, round 1 last year. Thank you. I thought that was it. I was literally probably on a plane. Thanks for reminding me. So missing that exciting part, but yeah, such a great player. But so disappointing end to his New Zealand rugby. Well, maybe not his end, but his current end to his New Zealand career. But yeah, otherwise outside of him, I thought he could have been the standout for a long time in a Highlanders jumper. But yeah, Billy Harmon's going to be the key to that back row. He is impressive. Again, talk about the Mitchell Dunshea impact. Billy Harmon, exactly the same sort of situation. A bit of experience, a bit of youth, recruiting well. And the focus certainly changed last year, I think, within the Highlanders with how they go about building their squad. And I think in the long term, maybe a bit of pain short term, but I think in the long term, it's going to sort this franchise out very, very nicely. And I think a lot of these guys quite often show promise throughout the Otago Southland region, but never get that chance to push their way up further through when you've got these other guys from other regions coming in. But so now it's good to see actually that pathway developing for these guys to actually get the opportunity, get the chance to impress and still play with the experience and the guys who have been around these areas for a while as well. So it's all good. And let's be honest, Southland and Otago, typically Southland, what do they produce? Good forwards. We don't produce much else, do we? Well, typically, Southland have gone, Paul Miller days, good number 8s, good props, not really locks, but back rowers and front rowers is kind of Southland's meat and drink, right? Use that, use that sort of strength in your backyard.
Yeah, I mean, it's cold down there, handling is difficult. So who wants to be a back? So look, yeah, you got to. So I'm happy that look with Harmon, Renton, Sanders, you've got a decent experienced back row to start off with there if you want to, and you need to look at slotting in other guys to gain experience and see how well they go. It's how I see it happening. But maybe I'm wrong. Into the scrum halves then. And look, they lost Triple T at the beginning of the season last year. So put him in here as a transfer at the end of this season is a bit of a strange one. But there you go. Huiti Parapara was in as a short-term replacement, so he's not a real big loss either. Aaron Smith, clearly the experience, but he goes with is a big loss for them. But look, at the end of the day, at some point you had to move on from Aaron Smith and now is exactly the right time. The 3 guys I've got in there, all were around last year. So that's great news, which means they know the systems, they know the play, they know the coaches. They know that it's not like you're starting from scratch with one of your key playmakers. So James Arscott, Folau Fakatava, Nathan Hasty. Now, obviously, Folau Fakatava is the person that everyone's expecting to step up at this point. But I'm happy with where they are with those scrum halves and the fact that they've gone for continuity rather than going, oh, we've lost Aaron Smith, help, let's go and try and find somebody from Sam Knock from the Blues or something. A guy who's got some experience but has never actually shown sort of massively that he'll make it. They've stuck with their guys and gone, yep, continuity here. So I'm happy with that from that point of view. Fly halves then. Massive experience going in Marty Banks, Freddie Burns, and Mitch Hunt. But let's be honest, Marty Banks didn't play last year and he's getting towards the end of his career. So about time to move on. But then you look at the guys, again, who they're bringing. So Cam Miller's the incumbent. Who are they bringing in? AJ Falafifanga from Otago. And sorry, I probably butchered that name. And then Reece Pratchell in as a bit of experience, replacing sort of Freddie Burns kind of role. Look, I don't have a problem with Otago. With Highlanders bringing in some of these experienced guys. I think it adds to what is a squad that can be quite often inexperienced, and I think Cam Miller will find having someone like Reece Patchell around really, really useful for his development. I think Cam Miller's going to be the guy that's given the keys to this team, Steve.
Yeah, I kind of like how the direction of style that it looks like they're going to with this backline as well. You know, James Arscott played a little bit last year and the year before. He definitely played the year before that. So he's got a little bit of a taste of what he can do. But Fakatava is going to be a guy who's going to want to run the ball. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a bit more faster, a bit more snipey, a bit more exciting, and to make things happen rather than just to spark his backline a bit more than Smith would have done typically. And Reece Patchell is much of the same sort of an attacking sort of runner at the line, more than we've probably seen from a Freddie Burns sort of style of player, although he was within his own right that style too. But I don't think, honestly, I don't count Marty Banks, right? Marty Banks, okay, great veteran, mean player, all that fun stuff. An icon of I guess Southland and Otago and New Zealand rugby for a longer extension of that. Freddie Burns, yeah, okay, cool we experienced last year. It was cool to see some Northern Hemisphere players come down and get a little bit of a chance. Mitch Hunt was probably the one you'd say, okay, that's a big loss. But is it really like Mitch Hunt? Okay, he's got experience. He's played a lot of games. But has he really been that direction? Has he really been that pivotal number 10? They played him at fullback a lot. His goal kicking was typically wayward, but then it'll be good. But then he wasn't really a super composed, ice in his veins sort of guy that's going to slot you those crucial kicks. He was just the kind of guy that was there because he was there and he filled the role, but he was never really an answer to a number 10 jersey. And I'm hoping that Cam Miller's going to be now a genuine long-term, you're the 10, you're going to play 10 most of the time and get that role embedded into him and not just be the guy that's there because he's there. A guy that's there because he's good enough, because he's progressing, because he's developing, because he's leading the team and going forward with the side rather than just plugging a hole like a piece of tape. Mitch Hunt, great player to sit on a bench. Okay, he's a very nice number 22 for me. Can cover a few positions, can kick your goals if you really get desperate. To start and be in a pivotal position like that, I want someone who I can rely on to do that job and be that man. My number 10 is my number 10. Hence why I'm not a huge fan of the Bowden Barretts of this world. Are you a 10? Are you a fullback? Okay, you've got two very important positions. Okay, fullback, okay, can be a bit more fluid, but a 10 is such an important position. Be a 10. Mitch, I know it's not your fault, it's the coach's fault, but I want you to be a 10, man. Be a 10 for me. So I hope we get a bit of attacking play. Arscott's the biggest sort of guy as well, so I think we're going to see him be a bit more involved and try to force the issue a bit. Fakatava, fast, snappy, strong sort of player. So, yeah, I think the backline should have a lot more threat about it this season. And I think having a fresh 10 in here to really push his case with so many weapons. I don't know. Highlanders with weapons? What are you talking about? Yeah, we got finishers this year. So let's get excited.
You got finishers, but I think the issue might be how does the ball get to them?
No, we got rid of Gregory. He's gone. Don't worry.
Because if you look at in the centres, you've lost Gregory, Paya, and really, unfortunately, Thomas Amanga Jensen to injury. It's a real shame because there's a player that could have been making a case for the All Blacks at some point in his career, but unfortunately, injuries have held him back. Coming in, Talea from the Blues brings a bit of experience to those to the centres where you've got Tahiwi, Timu, and Wanga now, or Fanga, sorry, with Tahiwi and Fuanga both on short-term deals last year. So again, guys are bringing through, showing faith in their development pathways to fill the gaps where, I say, they've lost 3 players in this area, and experienced players as well. And they played a lot of minutes those between them in the last couple of years. So trust in their pathways again, brought one experienced player in to support those younger guys who are coming through the pathways. I think this again shows good recruitment from the Highlanders. I'm happy with that, but as I say, definitely inexperience in there with an inexperienced fly half in Cam Miller. Now, as I say, he's got a couple of years with them, and look, he's come through the New Zealand under-20s. So look, he's someone that they've been looking at for a while, but it's going to be interesting. If I was an opposition looking at them, it would be right. Get in their faces, don't give them time, and see how flustered they get, and see can they cope with the pace of Super Rugby. Now maybe they'll, but so I can see that from an opposition point of view, from a locals, from a Highlanders point of view. Again, great to see local guys coming through and being given a chance. So I love it from that point of view. I think it's a good recruitment, but definitely an area that is a bit of a wait and see on that one, because as you say, when we go to the next group, there are some weapons on the outside.
I mean, to me, honestly, I look at this and it sits in the same as the Mitch Hunt category to me. It's like you say for oppositions to attack the midfield, right? Which I understand, fair enough. But let's be honest, you put those, two of those, Dumanga Jensen, quality guy, but you put Gregory and Fatuli Paya back in this team and back in starting as an opposition, what would you say? Attack the midfield. Because if you make Fatuli Paya make a tackle, he's going to get injured. So he's going to be gone and he's going to be out the rest of the season. Scrog Gregory, average. Average.
Well, no, I wouldn't say attack it. I would say I'm not concerned about it. With those guys in, I'm not really worried about it. If we put them under pressure, they'll probably cope because, hey, they got experience here. But
Gregory,
but they're not going to break my line. They're not going to cause me any issues defensively. Yeah, no worries. I'm not concerned about them. Whereas, so from that point, we put them back in. It adds experience, but as you say, doesn't add any danger for the opposition.
I think towards last year, and the Highlanders, I would say, attack their edges because they're really weak and kind of make shift on their edges. And they really like this thing. And they've been doing it since Tompkinson and Thompson back in the days, putting those midfielders who are really good midfielders on the wing, who weren't that fast. And they just kind of played with 4 midfielders essentially through that back line. That was always a really bad thing. And they did the same with Gregory. And I kind of feel sorry for him in a way because where really was his spot? Again, it's this whole shifting players around and they never really know where their position is. But now if you put them in and you say, okay, we've really opened up that depth in the outside backs, where that weakness would be the midfield regardless. So I'm kind of happy. It's fresh faces. I've seen enough of Gregory. I've not seen enough of Fatuli Paya because he spent most of it in hospital. And when I talked about players from the Crusaders coming down to the Highlanders being mostly a success, he's been the biggest disappointment because he just didn't get a chance through injuries and opportunities to play as well as he did in that one season where he was quite a standout for that Crusaders midfield. Unfortunate for him, but yeah, it's time to move on. I'm happy to see Gregory gone. He's doing nothing for Zebra over there as well. Absolutely nothing. He runs around like a headless chicken with an afro chicken, just like he did here. So yeah, let's move on. I'm happy to see something in this midfield new, and hopefully it's something exciting. But yeah, like Nocturnal says, as much as I don't want to see it, I think we may see a little bit of those outside backs coming into the inside backs, as it were, to just kind of shore it up a little bit of experience.
Now, this, as you say, there are definite finishers in this back three. Three depends how you want to go. Do you want to go full on attack, or do you want actually a steady hand at 15? We'll see which way they want to go. I know you want to see you shaking your head there about that. But on the way out, then we've got Dawai, who I think promised a lot, but never actually really kind of delivered in the end. Whether injuries and stuff held him back, but always a promising player, but never a player that really managed to deliver it. A couple of other players also going back to NPC or Heartland Championship in Hurley and Koroy. But both those guys were in as injury cover anyway last year, so we might see them back as injury cover again. Players coming in then: Jacob Ratamakovi Neepkins, and sorry, I have just gone and butchered that. Player with Sevens background, and then Teva Nawai from Moana Pacifica, perhaps one of the most deadly outside backs. A player that I think is that if you're not careful, you're going to totally underestimate. Because yes, he is a very powerful and quick runner, but he's also a player that actually is actually a real thinking rugby player. So he knew. I remember watching him in NPC a couple of years ago, where he was actually fantastic under the high ball on a wet night, and he hadn't been great a couple of weeks earlier, but he'd gone away and worked on it, and then suddenly against Hawke's Bay, I think it was, he was absolutely fantastic under that high ball. So there's a guy who knows, who looks at where his weaknesses are and goes away and really works on it. A real serious look. He comes across as a very jovial player and is very joking on all his social medias, but I think actually deep down is a real serious player about his rugby. So two really good signings to come in there. So what we've got some Bogado, Connor Garden-Bashop, Jonah Lowe, Nariki, the two players I mentioned, plus Sam Gilbert in there. The player that I was kind of hinting at there with Sam Gilbert as that steadying hand at 15. But how do you fit Jonah Lowe, Nariki, Ramatvi Neepkins, and Teva Nawai into the same team? You can't. You only have three of them. So yeah, some real headaches for the Highlanders coaches, but in a real good way. I see it in those back three.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, Waisake Naholo, man. That's the last time we've really been excited about an outside back that can actually just do something. Like Tava Nawai to me is a guy where if you are in a spot of bother and you're running out of ideas, you can throw him the ball and just say, have a go. Because he's got that X factor sort of capabilities that could just make something happen. The Highlanders have travelled for, I think, far too long, especially in those midfield and outside back channels with guys who are just, I guess you'd say, steady sort of players who do what they do well, sort of probably more power game players who try to break tackles, lack that real extra. And Nariki was kind of that guy, and he's showing glimpses of that capabilities. But to have someone, like the days of Naholo, where you could throw him the ball and say, just chip and chase and chase it and go. You're so fast, do something unpredictable, do something that players won't expect. I think that those wings especially offer that sort of style of rugby. So it's exciting. Who starts, who doesn't start? It is a real question mark about it. Gilbert has been covering 10 as well in the last couple of seasons. So there's always that option that he might be fitting in there somewhere as well if injuries, movement changes do occur. And again, will one of those guys ship up and take some time in midfield? So who knows what's going to happen there. Don't like that sort of thing, but there's just too much talent out there to leave any of those guys sitting in the stands for too much of the season. So exciting to see. Good to see Bogado there again. I thought he actually, for a non-New Zealand player coming into the competition, has probably been one of the better to adapt to the competition than we've seen from others. So good to see they actually got him on a couple-year contract to come back again. But yeah, it's fun. And I think, like I say, if you can give them the ball And I think a lot of these wingers are guys who will come and get the ball too. They won't just sit on wings. I would have them playing like, come in, take the center channel, just do something different, look for work. And Jonah Lowe sort of player would do that sort of thing as well. And we've seen Nareki do that a lot at his time in the Highlanders. So it should be, on paper, looks very, very exciting and something the Highlanders have lacked drastically for a number of years now, since, those mid-2010s, right? So I'm excited for it. I'm really, really excited for it.
There's too much bulk on the wings in the past, no speed. I wouldn't say too much bulk because, let's be honest, Tamatavanawa is bulky enough, but he's got speed as well. So it's not about bulk. It's about speed or lack of it. And you've had a mixture either of guys who can't run, can't be too, or you've had your Narikis who are a bit underweight, potentially in some cases. Whereas Tamatavanawa is someone that he can be a get out of jail card for you, because if he hasn't got anything on, he will just get over the gain line for you because of his power. Now you don't want to be using him that way too often because that's wasting all his other talents. But he can be used as that get out of jail card. Just get us some front football, and we can work from there from that point of view. So Clark Dermody comes back as well. I don't think we've actually been negative about any position across all of these. We've pointed out there are a couple of areas where inexperience could cause issues, but that's not necessarily. But we do like the fact that the majority of the players who have been brought in are either quality. You've got a couple of guys from the Blues, maybe, but apart from that, especially amongst the forwards, is that local recruitment. The guys who come on short-term contracts have been given extended contracts this year as well, rather than again just throwing them aside and going, we'll try and buy in some experience. It really is a development. So we think it just looks like they've got their pathways working in the right direction here with these teams, and players who want to be down at the Highlanders rather than players who, let's be honest, in the past you've had who are kind of like, oh shit, I've just been sacked by the Hurricanes. I just need somewhere to play rugby, which has happened before. You've got players here who actually want to be there, I think, on the whole side. So I think, I'm positive about the Highlanders this year. And as you say, low expectations. I'm not expecting to go ahead and win the tournament. Don't get me wrong, but I think they can grow on 2023. We can see some good rugby, and the fans enjoying the fact they've got local players playing for them who are putting in the effort and seeing the style improve.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there massively. I mean, going local is good for so many reasons. Not only, like, say, you got players who want to play there, but they're not going to use the club as a stepping stone. If they are successful, they're probably going to stay because, this is the chance that they built the team they built through, and they've developed through, and they've built themselves essentially over seasons to become as good as they are, right? So they want to be there. They want to see success. They don't just want personal success. They want team success for their team. And of course, how much, you got to think about professionalism these days. How much more money does it cost to hire a player from Auckland, relocate him to Dunedin, pay for something for him to live, give him a job? They're there already. They're there. Just here's a contract. You get this much per game. You score a try, whatever. Thank you. We'll see you at training. It just simplifies everything, right? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and Jamie Joseph as director. Also, it'll be interesting to see how he and Clark Dermody get some kind of mesh, because sometimes your director of rugby doesn't mesh well. Gatland at the Chiefs, I'm not sure that really worked. I think it was really more a kind of somewhere to park him until he got another job. Whilst Clayton McMillan was very clear that he was calling the shots once he was head coach, not Gatland. Gatland was supporting him if he asked for it, rather than Gatland giving him guidance as a director. So it'll be interesting to see that how that relationship goes between the two of them. Hopefully it goes well, and it doesn't mean that Clark Dermody just ends up leaving halfway through the season and Joseph's taking over. But we'll see. But it's it's bringing someone back who's got international experience and also has got a history with the franchise as well. He knows the franchise. He's not coming in fresh, having to learn it. So good. Let's hope that also works. Moving on then to the capital. to the Hurricanes, and looking at the front row, then Owen Franks heads back to the Crusaders. Jeez, how old is he? It's like he's been around for forever. 36. Wow, 36. Yeah. So maybe he has got a bit of rugby left in him. But he's definitely not the future, is he? And then you've got Luakai coming in from Wellington. So again, recruiting locally. But again, you've got continuity there in your props. Luakai, Lomax, Mafaleo, Namia, Rakiti Stones, and Tussi. So yeah, again, a nice set of props there to build around. You've got Dane Coles leaving, and also Fiver off to Bath from in the. He was only there really on short-term replacement in the hookers. So again, continuity with the Mua and Derby there being added to with O'Reilly from Wellington. So again, another local guy who has both of those two new guys coming in will have been training with this squad last year. So lots of continuity in that front row, which is something that you need there. So yeah, I'm positive or happy with that front row for the Hurricanes. No major worries.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good on paper, right? Injury concerns, keeping those key guys fit. We've seen, Lomax especially, I think, is a massive key for that front row. He's proven himself, I think, over the last, probably not the 12 months, but, the last 6 or 8 months, he's really stepped up throughout that World Cup and become actually, with the group that is for the All Blacks, a front row or a propping pillars, as they call them, for that future of the team. So he's going to be key and just dragging the rest of those guys up without it. But yeah, continuity's there. I'm demanding, I'll go out there. I'm demanding a big season from Armour this year. I mean, he come into the Super Rugby being the be-all and end-all of hookers. It was going to just transform the world. And has delivered.
A little bit harsh. I think, look, he was, at a very young age, he was into the All Blacks wider training squad. And yes, he was seen as being the next guy to come in after Coles and Taylor, and he hasn't lived up to that. That's true. I'm not sure not sure anyone was expecting him to redefine the role of hooker in World Rugby. But look, this is a key season for him. Absolutely, as Nocturnal Right says, Dane Coles isn't there anymore. There's no excuse for him not being he is the man, and we need to see him step up and prove that he can handle the pressure of being the guy, and that he is not going to do anything silly like come in overweight after off season. That he actually knows what it means to be a professional rugby player. Now, to be fair, he's a few years older now than when that happened, and when we had those stories coming around. So let's just hope he's grown up into this role and is ready and is mature enough. I think it's probably more his mindset than anything else will make or break him for this season.
I think if he doesn't have a big year this year, he's off. He's off overseas. He's going to cash in, because I think surely he's smart enough to know that he can't just toil away as being a mid-roader Super Rugby player and then go on to what next. You've got to cash in sooner or later. Go over home. Hey, Northern Hemisphere, French, English, who knows, sort of rugby style could change him as a player in terms of his style or the way he plays in that rugby, could make a different player out of him. So a huge turning point for him. I think he was a defining sort of player for the position, because Dane Coles was a defining player in the way he played and, his width, and Armour was Dane Coles on drugs, essentially, when he was coming through those systems. It's like, hey, we've seen Dane Coles do these cool things. He scampers down the sideline like a little rabbit and, can still bowl a player out of the field. Now, this guy's got pace and he's got power. He doesn't do it on the sidelines. He does it straight up the middle. He looks good, and I think he maybe not redefine style, but he was going to take it to that next level. We've kind of stagnated, right? And if anything, hookers have maybe gone a step backwards to being more of a not so exciting player, just another prop sort of style of bumbling around the field. So I'm expecting massive things. Make or break, 100%. Big year this year into the All Blacks, or we'll see him at, who knows, Newcastle Falcons probably in 2024-25.
Now, whilst I'm happy with those, I'm not so happy with what they've done at lock, to be honest with you. Dominic Bird, James Blackwell, Hugo Plummer, Blackwell going overseas, the other two returning to Wellington, bringing in Ben Grant from San Diego Legion, Josh Tuala from Manawatu, and James Tucker from the Blues. How did the Highlanders cope with this sort of situation? Well, in their situation, what they would do is the guy who was on the short-term contract would get the long-term contract, and they have that continuity. Whereas here in the Hurricanes, they've sent him back to MPC and then gone shopping around the country for players. Now, to be fair, Tuala's from Manawatu, that's from their catchment area, but Ben Grant and James Tucker are not. They've gone shopping elsewhere. So you've got Delaney, Grant, Sangster, Talua, Tucker, and Walker Laurie. Now, Walker Laurie, I've got lots of time for. I think he's a real player, but I'm not sure who the hell I'd have with him out of the rest of them. And I don't see that growth. I don't see that pipeline that I saw with the Highlanders. So, and this has always been a problem area for the Hurricanes. Let's be honest, it has been the engine room. They've just not had the beef in there, and to provide the weight at scrum time to get the height. They've had far too many mobile locks and not enough meat in there. And yeah, so this to me is a place that I'm locks on right. Yeah, Workman locks. Looking for Delaney to step up and Tucker, good solid pickup. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing there exciting, and potentially if you lose Walker Laurie to injury, it suddenly becomes a worrying area for me in this Hurricanes team.
You know, I did not know James Tucker was so old. I was going to say good pickup because he's had a few years of Super Rugby. He's shown a bit of experience, and someone was going to pick him up because he's sort of that sort of guy that's good for your squad. But 29 years of age, really been in all about. Didn't even know he played for Zebri for a season, and Japan and the Brumbies. I didn't know he played for the Brumbies. So a little bit of a journeyman. So the question to me is, why drop the 32-year-old Dominic Bird, who is very much the same, if not, wouldn't you consider a bit more of an experienced, high-level player than a Tucker for the season coming up? Question mark on that one. But yeah, what is with also, here's a question for you. What is with the Hurricanes and these high potential forwards that never really deliver the mark? You could list a number of them. The list that have been successful is probably, on a hand. Bird retired. Oh, okay, 32. Jeez, that's unheard of, right? Gee, you think everyone's wanting to be LeBron James these days and play till they're 40. But you got so many. You look through this team, don't you? And so many players promise so much. And it seems to be when you talk about the Hurricanes, it's typically like this. They have such good high potential players that get to this level and just kind of fall off the wheels. See, to me, 3 years ago, Walker Laurie, I was putting him to be an All Black in the next couple of years. I thought he was that good. Big guy, good, tall, solid, gets around the park, impactful guy. I really, really liked him. I still do. But he seems to have got into Super Rugby and gone, hey, I'm here. I'm a starting Super Rugby player, and gone, okay, I'm cool. And just cruise along, right? I haven't seen that progress. Almua, again, we already talked about him, but, up, hey, I'm breaking the world. And even he's probably gone down a bit. And more names we'll talk about later on. But do you think it's something with Wellington? Like their setup, or they're just unlucky?
No, I think it's going to be their setup and how you motivate these players at the end of the day. And who you pick, who you decide to bring through. See how hungry are they? What do they want to achieve? And at the Crusaders, you're coming in and you're expected to achieve winning championships. And if you're not winning championships, you failed, right? Well, if you come into the Hurricanes, that culture isn't there of winning multiple championships. So it's about, okay, yep, look, we're doughty fighters. We're doing well. All right, cool. And that's probably part of the culture. And that's probably something that Artie Surveyor has sort of struggled with at the Hurricanes, and the fact that there's a guy who I want to be winning and I want to be, and I think I think some of the time, some of his frustration we've seen from him perhaps is probably that it doesn't get the same from some of his teammates. Talking of him, and then into the Lucies. Labashur and Princep go back to MPC, and Oli Surveyor is having sabbatical over in Japan. And so two players who didn't play last year anyway, plus the talisman of this team going away. And the way to replace him, obviously, is with England's very own Brad Shields, who's returning from Perpignan. So, yeah, look, it brings experience. But at 32, having hasn't played for England since 2019, never really. I only got 9 caps. Never really kind of got himself being the man there. So yeah, I mean Flanders, Howden, Lucy, Karifi, Laka, Brad Shields. I don't see what you're getting with Brad Shields, to be honest with you. I'd much rather they brought through a young guy from one of their local provinces rather than bring Brad Shields in, because you've already got Devon Flanders, Karifi, who have got experience. You don't need an experienced guy in there to kind of lead this group of Lucies. So I don't see what he's adding. And I think it's a poor signing for me.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, okay, the signing is crap. Yeah, Shields 100% trash. The only thing he did overseas was grow a big beard and look like a complete fool. So no, I'll see you later. I don't mind Brad Nyossi, Dupsy Karifi, Peter Lackey. But those guys, for me, that's my 6, 7, 8. I mean, who plays 6, who plays 8? Yeah, okay, we'll see. But yeah, 7 for Karifi. I mean, that's the guys. Flanders on the bench. Okay, there we go. Let's move. Shields enjoy the season of running training. And what did Red Princep do? What? Don't tell me he's retired, because it says nothing about him retiring. But man, a solid little experienced sort of player. Would you ship him out to bring in a guy like Shields? I mean, no, thank you. Again, continuity, keep what you've got. You're just moving a guy for the sake of moving a guy and bringing back. Can we stretch and call Brad Shields a bit of a Hurricanes talisman, maybe? I mean, it's a real stretch, but no.
It's an international draw card.
I'm looking to those guys. They're my future. I'm looking at, Brady Ossie, 25. Lakai doesn't actually say his age, but he's around that same sort of indication as well. Powerful players. They're my future for me. I'm expecting big things. And Karifi, another name. Up, stood out, flatlined. Another big season I'm expecting from him. Hurricanes, I've got massive expectations for, and I'm expected to be disappointed.
I was going to say, yeah, I wouldn't have much expectations at all, personally. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, Reed Princep 30, 73 games for the Hurricanes. I mean, if you're talking about a guy who's a stalwart of the team, he's much more that than Brad Shields ever was. So yeah, to me, I don't get that. I don't get that signing.
Brad Shields played 100
otherwise, happy with those Lucies. To be honest with you, yeah, you're right. Decent set of Lucies, but why bring Brad Shields in?
100 caps, man. He's an icon.
Coming into the scrum halves then, Jamie Booth heads back to MPC, and Logan Henry is released. TJ Perenara didn't play last year. Wow. The records on here. So you got Richard Judd coming back from San Diego Legion, plus TJ Perenara and Cam Roygard. Just give Cam Roygard the jersey, please. It's fine to have TJ Perenara around as a leader off the pitch, but please, you've got to give Cam Roygard the jersey and the opportunity here out of those three. Again, what are you getting with Richard Judd coming back? I'm sure there will be. To me, that's money wasted, because he's going to be on a decent contract, you'd think, to come back, So to me, yeah, one that I don't understand. I think some wasted money there in Shields and Judd. If you're going to keep you either bring Judd back or you keep TJ Perenara. You don't do both, and you bring a young guy in to come through as well. And look at how the Chiefs have gone about it with Xavier Rowe and Cam Roy and I've gone anyway, 2 young guys. There, you don't need to have two experienced guys in there. And to me, again, wasted money. It's a bad squad building, but otherwise happy with those players.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one name there for me. Roy Gudd's the guy. He's the guy. I'm sorry. No, after that World Cup, after a season last year, I think he's the future. He is the future. His play style, and I mean, he looked like he wanted to be there. We talked about the Hurricanes, guys that just don't want to make that next step. He looked desperate to make that next step and desperate to make a difference. His attitude, his style, his impacts at an international level. I don't care who his opposition is. The All Blacks play at a standard, right? Whoever they're against Namibia or they're against France, it doesn't matter. And Roy Gudd fit that bill, man. I think black jersey number 9. I don't care about the yellow one. On default, that's his. The black one is his too, straight away. No question.
And then outside them, Brett Cameron, Aidan Morgan, and Ruben Love. A group of I've asked Ruben Love down here as a fullback. I think those he can all step up to 10. Again, those three, happy with those. Hoppier returns to Canis Manukau, but he was only on short term anyway. Sorry, Hohepa, not Hoppier, Hohepa. And then so happy with those. Look, it's a very, very settled back line compared to that pack, because all your centres were there before in Barrett, Higgins, Proctor, Sullivan, and Emmanuel Jensen. And again, in your wings, Josh Morby, Kiki Naholo, Rayasi, and Daniel Sinkinson. Again, very, very settled. Anyone to leave is Junior Surveyor off to Moana Pacifica. He's very replaceable, let's be honest. Harry Godfrey gets steps up from the short-term replacements to a full-term contract at fullback. So look, if a very, very settled backline, why they've brought Punavai in from the Chiefs, I don't really understand that signing. Again, I would have tried to bring someone young through who was a local signing, because again, Sinkinson, he's come through from Waikato. So yeah, lots of signings from far away rather than trusting your local development pathways. Nothing against Punavai as a player, but with Morby, with Rayasi, Sinkinson, you've already got decent players who have proven themselves. Kikinaholo, looks great, but just injured all the time. Unfortunately, has been a problem. He's been at the Chiefs, he's been at the Crusaders, and now is at Hurricanes. So again, a guy who's bounced around a bit looking for a home. Hopefully, he's found it now. But yeah, very settled back line. No glaring weaknesses or gaps per se. I think that's the question is, can that engine room give them good ball? I think
this is typical Crusaders. Oh, sorry, Hurricanes, isn't it? Typical Hurricanes. Decent backs. They'll do something if they get the ball. If they have the opportunities, they've got the talent, they've got the ability, they've got the speed, they've got the power, they've got all the tools, they've got the experience. They don't have the errors and they might have the errors, but they don't have the weaknesses as other sides may have in positions. But are they going to be running on their heels all the time? And that pack not giving them the ball. I mean, this is just 101 Hurricanes. If you're new to Super Rugby, welcome. This is how the Hurricanes are every single year. And they struggle with it. It's such a contrast to their forward pack, isn't it? It's just bewildering. I'm looking forward to them, though. Again, high expectations, because I think, again, a lot of guys in here with high ceilings that could become very quality players for New Zealand rugby. Aidan Morgan, Ruben Love, especially right up there at the top of my list. I think they have the quality to be brilliant players. Balin Sullivan, I really like as well. So a lot of guys that I think could be really, really special and do something brilliant. And if they get the service, they can really do something special. Again, like you say, it's settled. It's pretty much the same backline. Okay, the nice, bus ticket, the man who everyone loves and likes to see is gone. That's great for Moana. Brilliant. Like to see it. The Punavai, you talked about players jumping teams. Punavai's done that as well. He's been all over the show. But, I mean, he adds experience and he doesn't look out of place in there. Like, if he started, you know that he's going to get you a solid performance. But, yeah, it's a missed opportunity to add a youngster into a very experienced setup and go, hey, This is how we roll around here. This is Super Rugby. Welcome. Have 20 minutes here or there, learn the game, and next year you could be full time and getting in more game time. So missed chance there, I think, for someone through their catchment areas. But all in all, looks solid. It's going to do well if it gets the ball. So here's hoping, high expectations, ready for disappointment.
But he's only 25, so he's not actually that old, to be fair. No. And he's already played for the Crusaders, the Highlanders, Chiefs, and Hurricanes. And he's now starting with the Hurricanes. He's only got to add the Blues next year, and he's got the full set.
His career's done.
So wow, yes. I didn't realise he would. He'd bounced around quite so much. But another player who you hope has found a home. There in this team, and then the other big change: Jason Holland is off to the All Blacks, and Clark Laidlaw comes in from New Zealand Sevens. So it's going to be interesting to see how Laidlaw settles in at this kind of level. Looking at his history, he's been assistant coach at the Hurricanes and also London Irish. So this is his first head coaching role as a in 15s, which is interesting. Hasn't come through the NPC and had a team there the way that a lot of head coaches would do. So I'll be interested to see how he goes, how he comes through. Also, perhaps part of some of these signings that we've seen in here, like Punavai, maybe Richard Judd, Brad Shields, Ben Grant, is because Laidlaw hasn't had time to sort of work through and know the local pathways. Maybe that's part of why we've got players like that coming in, as he's just trying to fill holes with experienced players that he can trust, that will do a job. He doesn't necessarily need to find someone who's going to change the team, because, as you say, this is a very settled team. In fact, this is possibly the most settled team out of all of the New Zealand franchises from memory. So yeah, these when you're coming off the back of a World Cup winning year, you've got a settled team like this. You should be, as you say, thinking this is a year where we can knock over those Crusaders. They've lost Richmond Mo'unga. We can knock over a Chiefs. They've lost Ritalik and other players. So we can knock over the Blues. They've lost Bowden Barrett. This year we should be making a run for the championship. Do I expect them to? Hell no. But with this squad, they should. That's, as you say, that should be the expectation. But I just don't trust the Hurricanes to do that.
You know what? I was thinking when you were talking there about the coaching staff and how they're taking over from Laidlaw as the head coach. So it's like, yeah, that's all well and good. Okay, Sevens coach. He's probably going to be more helpful right to the backs and fast and fitness and that sort of things, right? That they bring with Sevens. That's what I'm, being very cliche about my thinking. I thought, well, who else is going to step up for this forward pack? Who's going to represent this forward pack in a coaching capacity? So just for everyone's interest, if you don't know this already, Bryn Evans was the last one to join their coaching staff as a former All Black and Hurricane. He is their line-out and kickoff coach, very specific. So he's the one to blame if the line-out and kickoffs go to crap. The coaching staff consists of Tyler Blindell, Corey Jane, Jamie McIntosh, and of course head coach Craig Laidlaw. So Jamie McIntosh is the only one who's going to really be pushing around this forward pack as a forward, which kind of concerns me when you talk about motivation and determination and wanting more as a player. Is he a sort of player who to you drives that sort of mentality and ambition? To me, I say no. I say a decent little player, but him himself very much was a mediocre settler in his own career and didn't really push through those levels. Blindell, much the same, jumped ship before he really took off his career. Corey Jane, X Factor, brilliant. He is your world-class guy. What does he bring? I think a fun coach on pizza day on Friday, but there's no hard asses.
So he's down as defense coach, and you think, actually, I want Corey Jane running my attack.
Yes.
Whereas actually they've got Blindell running the attack side of things. So,
but where's the hard ass? Where's the guy who's going to crack these guys and say, look, get Hardy Savia back as a coach. Where's the passion? These guys, they just don't seem to have that killer instinct. You know what I mean? I just don't see someone who's really just going to crack down this team and make them better. This is a team of coaching stuff. To me, is just going to be like, look at the positives and say, that was good. Let's go again next week, despite the fact they lost by 6 points. That no one's just going to go, hey, we lost. I mean, yes, you did this well, but come on. If we cleaned up these areas here and push that narrative, you know what I mean? That just seems like they're not going to have that badass guy is going to be the bad guy who's just going to be a complete arsehole and just drive these guys to become better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, I can see Corey Jane being one of the lads, and
yes,
and motivating that way, which is
McIntosh,
and it's needed. You need that, but you need that mix at the end of the day. Yeah, we're not saying that these are all bad in the wrong way, but we're just saying it's a mix. Yeah,
it's a mentality. Like, you got a lot of laddie lad mates, guys who would have played with these guys. Like Blindell, he went overseas pretty young, but as a player, very similar sort of career lines to them, right? So I just feel like they need someone who's, just going to take the scruff of the neck and throw the water bottle, throw chairs. They need it.
Bring Alex Ferguson in.
Yes,
as director of rugby. We were going to go through the Australian team as well, but folks, we've run out of time. At the end of the day, we spent more time on these two teams than we did 5 teams last time. So part 3 will come next week. We'll get back into a weekly rotation. Now we've had now I've had my Christmas break. Steve has been continually churning out content on his channel, but yes, let's be honest, I've gone quiet over December and over December basically. Taking on a new job, doing basically being a tour guide here in Waihi, doing tours of the gold mine and also bike tours as well through the gorge. That's my new my new job. If you want to know when gold was discovered in Waihi, I know the year. So that's what I'm doing, as well as also selling my wooden toys, which is always a big. And the busy time of year for that is always in the run up to Christmas, hence why I kind of got swamped with other stuff, folks. But now the new year is here. The other problem also has been that the Mondays have been Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So kind of like thinking, Steve's not going to be up for doing a show Christmas Day. I would have been. Well, perhaps I could have done. I was because I didn't have my kids this year, so I could have done a show on Christmas Day. I'm not sure how many people would have watched it, but there you go. So, folks, we'll get back into the routine of Mondays at 8 p.m. And next week we'll have a look at the Australian teams, plus have a look at some of the news that has been going on over the time we've been off as well. So, thank you very much, Steve. It's been an absolute pleasure yet again, and hope you actually get some news about the upcoming computer game release.
I'll keep you updated. Don't worry.
So check back in next Monday for that. Stay safe, folks, and catch you then.